Hi everybody, I'm Lisanne Miller with W. Cushing and Company, and this is In the Library with Lisanne for October. October, we're going to take a little trip back in time, and we're going to talk about primitive rugs, but we're going to talk about primitive rugs by two very, very nice people who are no longer with us, who are very influential with many of us in the rug hooking community, Emma Lou and Barb Carroll. Upon redoing the studio and cleaning out the studio, happened to find a valuable, wonderful book that we will be offering to you, and it's American Primitive Hooked Rugs, a primer for recreating antique rugs. And this was done by Barb Carroll and Emma Lou, and it was produced by W. Cushing and Company. So, it is a beautiful book. Okay, and I know many of you may have this already in your stash. There's 13 chapters. It tells about Emma Lou, about Barb. It goes from foundation material to dyeing the wool to how to hook to resources. Now, some of this is dated, but this next page is the really crucial page. Every copy that we will be selling will be signed by Barb and Emma Lou. And I think that's just fabulous. It's a great collector's piece. So this book here will be, any of that we sell, these are brand new, because we printed them, and signed by Barb Carroll and Emma Lou. A lot of these rugs are familiar to us. They're lovely. They look great. Here's The Fox by Edith O'Neill. Barb and Emma Lou love their textures. I have to say I agree with them wholeheartedly. They love to use textures. They weren't afraid to make textures work, to cut them, fussy cut them. I think that's also part of it. This is another very old rug, pattern that we have, and it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. It actually was a Ralph Burnham. A lot of you have hooked this. She goes through the foundation materials, the hooks, the typical things that you would need. But she also does wool gathering, getting them ready, which is something a lot of you ask us. You know, sometimes when you want a really certain texture and you use clothing, how to do that. Dyeing. And I'll talk about their dye book in a second, but their dye book is also very brilliant. So this, and there is some dye formulas in here for the bronze, green, etc. Different things that you need to know. How they dye, what they look like over the different textures. And also cutting wools, using textured wools to their best advantage. How they're used to their best advantage. And personalizing it. Again, textures, you can tell this is new by the creek. And I just love it. It's just a lovely, lovely piece. This again is Old Nutfield. That's one of our patterns. This is a wonderful pattern that gets overlooked. A lot of people don't know what to do with the cornucopias, not to make them look heavy. Of course, this is a fabulous hooked piece. This is a great rendition of Old Nutfield. If you've ever thought about it but were worried about how to hook different aspects, this is how you look at it. This would look really great in paisley, by the way. So there's all sorts, basic hooking directions, always important. How to hook, the direction of hooking to get an outline for a moon, a star. Again, another really, really nice, this is Putnam Historic. You personalize it with your animal's name. And one of our patterns as well, but how to hook all the different aspects of it. The Lion and the Lamb. So all different ways how this plaid is very similar to our Gamekeeper, how it's cut to be used. Just all different aspects of the primitive rug. The border, again, not straight lines, how to put this in, how to hook the border. Direction of hooking for flowers, using textures and dyed. Direction of hooking, very, very important. Leaves, petals, schoolhouse primer. So it's a great book. It's a great book to keep in your, it's great for your library. It's just a great book to go back to, especially if you get stuck on a texture, get stuck with direction of hooking, just lots of good information, whether you've been hooking for years or you're brand new to it. And pay attention to the borders in the rugs. The borders in the rugs really make the rug. They don't detract from the rug in a primitive. Really nice aspects where you don't see the black as much. This is done with colors from the rug. So look at your borders, you know, make sure you look at it. Now this is an octagonal pattern that we have, but this is done with scraps. Look how interesting it is done with scraps. Direction of hooking. Borders, there's a whole chapter on borders, to border, not to border, finishing the rug, does it finish, does it not finish, do you use binding tape, which is becoming more popular. Here's a double border, setting the pattern in. Here's a triple border. And then finally how to take care of your hooked rugs. And there are 14 chapters, sorry. And then there's rug schools and workshops, suppliers, which has changed a little bit. A glossary of terms, always very good. Where to get wool. Cutters, primitive hooks, and then different books to use. And then teacher's notes. So a very, very good resource. Again, it's the American Primitive Hooked Rugs, but it is signed, these are brand new, and it is signed by Emma Lou and Barb Carroll. So here is their dye book, which we also have, which we also published. And I think we've gone over the dye book before, but just a brief now that we have the primer, I want to go over it briefly again. We have these in stock. Unfortunately, they are not signed. And this is how to do a la carte, potluck method. Everything is explained. It is using the Cushing dyes, and all is broken down by color. It's broken down by method, what the method is. So when it's, and the different dyes and formulas that use our dyes, what page they're on. So if you have American Beauty and you don't know what to do with it, go to page 4, there's a dye to use it. So this is broke down by color. It's also broke down by the wool base and the method. So it gives you all three at each one. Goes through everything that you would need. Okay? But here's the most important part, because this is all recipes. If you need recipes from mustard to red to faded blue, here's the color wheel. Oh, notice it's not in color. But our dyes are placed on the color wheel so you know where they are. Browns and neutrals are out here. This is fabulous. Mainly because here's your wools. Here it is dyed over different reds, the page where it's at, different greens, different golds. So it's just a fabulous, fabulous visual of what you're supposed to get over texture. It gives you a good idea. It lets you look at things in a different way. So it is a very, very good way. And at the end, there's some turquoise spots. Not all of them are pictured, and some real special dyes at the end. So this is the Antique Colors for Primitive Rugs. It is by Emma Lou and Barb, and is referenced in the book and goes great with the book. Wonderful holiday gifts. So our second book today is Hooked Rugs in the Folk Art Tradition. And I decided to do this book today because the styles and the patterns are so very similar to Barb and Emma Lou. This was a published book for the Museum of Folk Art, and it was about a show for the Museum of Folk Art. They're very hard to come by, but they're just absolutely wonderful books. And I'll just go through it, how it's done with yarn, sheared, hooked, yarn sewn and clipped, sheared and hooked again. Good visuals, hooking technique. Then it goes into the rugs, all different notes on it. They are not in color, I'm afraid, but this is a reference to it, what was known, and the size. Interesting book about the folk art show. There are some color pictures in here, not a lot, but again, in a great style, great look. And sometimes when they're not in color, you can use your imagination. This one happens to be in color, Magdalena style. So again, Magdalena style. So there's all different types of primitive rugs in throughout here, and just a lovely book to look at. Lovely for reference, for size. If you've hooked it, a little bit of the history of where it came from. So, nice geometrics. There we go. So here you are, hooked rugs in the folk art tradition, and this was done by the Museum of Folk Art in New York. Wonderful book just to have to look through and to remind you of different patterns, different ways to hook. So that is our new books for this time. I do want to do a reminder that we do have, again, these are brand new, Hooked on the Wild Side by Elizabeth Black, and this is all about animals. Well, we've gone from not so much detail to a lot of detail. So, and this also has a lot of information. It was one of our previous in the libraries. Don't want you to forget about it, especially if you're going to get ready to hook an animal over the winter season. A must-have for your library. We also have a few of these left. The hooked rugs by An American Folk Art. Again, folk art by Leslie Lindsay. And we have a few of these left. This shows you how to decorate with your rugs, different color waves. Look at this great pumpkin up in here, how the basket's hooked. A lot of good references in this book as well. We have just a few of these left as well. So as we're getting ready for the holiday season, because Lisanne's always getting ready for the holiday season, we have the book, The Visit. This is done by Mark Kimball Moulton, and it's illustrated by Susan Wingate. I love her illustrations, love Mark's books. Mark's books are just wonderful. His artwork is just phenomenal. So in this, while this is a great book to keep for your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, it's also a great book to use for inspiration for rug hooking. Okay, the train, if you have to hook a train, look at the detail, but not too much detail. The story in and of itself is just wonderful. Mark has done a great job with that. Look at how the curtains are billowed. This is another good reference book for rug hooking. You keep it on your shelf when little ones visit, or even if you like to read it yourself like I do, it's great reading as well. Look at how the snow is with the buildings, the cars, the dimension, how much detail not to put in. Here's one of my favorite ones, the snow on the tree, how the snow is laid onto the tree, how it would fall onto the tree. Great reference. Okay. Profiles, not a lot of detail in the faces, a lot of, how to hook the clothing, the faces, how to put the hands in the right spot. All these are very, very good references. More of it. Even on these pages where there's boughs and ornaments and candy canes, how the ornaments are in the boughs, great reference. So each page provides something else to look at. Christmas tree, how the candles are on, how the garland is on, how to illuminate it, not in a hard circle, but in a shaded circle, snow on the windows, stockings, a fireplace. I mean, we can go on and on. Here's a window with snow with the shutters. these books are just, well, very valuable for their story, very valuable for what they are, but they're also valuable to us for hooking. They have another use. Love the way this lampshade is done. Love it. Love the color of it, how it's subtle. You know what it is because it stands up against the curtains. Here's a nice, beautiful outside shot. Again, tree with snow, with the moon, trees breaking up the sky. Notice the sky is not blue. It's snowing. It's a stormy sky. Pine trees. Some animals. A sleigh. Houses. Faces with glasses. How the glasses look, how they sit. Holly. More people. This is really cool. I like this picture. I love the way that the scarf is around his neck, the way the tree cuts into the window. And of course, I love this whole scene right here. Could just be a rug by itself. Your cardinals on a branch. The two horses. How to separate the two horses with color. More about the horses. The snow. Notice the snow's not pure white down the bottom. The village. How to hook a village. Again, every page provides different inspiration for the rug hooker, as well as reading it and enjoying the artwork and the story with it. A tree with snow, snow on the roofs, Santa and his reindeer, the house. Santa is more of a Bells-Nichols Santa, lovely with the long robe, a different type of Santa for you to see, more trees. Even the quilt on the bed, how it's not straight, how it's beveled back and forth. And then, of course, Here Comes Santa. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, the poem. I think by Clement Seymour. So there's the poem or the story of The Night Before Christmas by Clement Seymour. Love that it's in script. Love the holly. And again, more inspiration with holly. So we do have a few of these left. Just wonderful. They're ex-library copies. So I hope you've enjoyed the October in the Library with Lisanne. We'll be back in November with some more fun books. Stay tuned, probably next week sometime. A lot of you have asked about the tree behind me, how we decorate the trees. I do have a fall Halloween tree on the other side. And we'll be doing a video on how I put it together, from what I use or what you can use around your home, and how to have a tree for each season, but do it nicely, quickly, and with things you have. So enjoy for now, have fun, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.